thanks to the folks from Automation Anywhere. Our next presenters are here from Blue Prism. I've got Mike McGeehan, Executive Director, Strategy and Business Development with Blue Prism Public Sector, and he's going to introduce the team. Mike?
Thank you. So while Barry's helping get set up here, thanks for the introduction, and thank you to ACT-IAC for the opportunity to be here today. Very pleased. And kind of what a special day to be in D.C. As I was telling my kids this morning what I was going to do, they asked me if I was going Halloweening. I said no, but we do have a treat for you here today in our talk, so appreciate that, and a wonderful ending to the baseball season this year for the Nats. So round of applause for our Nationals. And speaking of teams, we have a wonderful team here today. So Mike McGeehan, I represent Blue Prism, Executive Director, Strategy and Business Development in our public sector. And I have here with me my colleague, Ron Jones, who looks after our solution architects, and Barry Mitchell, IBM Automation, our partner and our friend. So we're going to tag team on this a little bit today and take you through some conversation. But what we're focused on is a topic that is really near and dear to us on stage and likely to many of you in the audience. Really wanted to talk to you about Really wanted to talk to you about emerging technologies, and this is offered through both Blue Prism and IBM, and really focus on changing outcomes for children and families. So this is geared towards social services, child welfare, but really, as the folks in the room, I know many of you have experience with RPA under the Intelligent Automation umbrella. So in a non-technical sense, RPA is the doing side, or the execution, and the thinking side and the cognitive side, but those really have to move at the speed of the mission. So, we're talking about redefining the future of work, focused on the mission, focused on the citizen experience and the employee experience, and the use case study that we have here today, we'll go into those details. And as I mentioned, the focus is social work, social services, but I think all of you in the room can recognize that in each and every of our roles, whether you're government or not, we have a lot of administrative work that needs to get done, and these digital workers, these digital assistants are there to help you. So one of the initiatives we have at Blue Prism is Blue Prism for Good. And this is all around, working with our partners, working with the community, working with our end agency customers, focused on things that are mission focused, right? Again, citizen focused, as well as on the employees, and how do we help them take hold of this technology and really drive change within our government and the future of work. This is also about, artificial intelligence and the melding of these two worlds. We talk about this as operational AI and enabling that capability. IBM and our partners talk about that as responsible AI and what that means, and ethical AI and the considerations we need to bring to bear around these concepts. So as we delve into the story here a little bit more, this is an astonishing fact. And if you think about this, 90% of social welfare workers quit their jobs in the first 12 months. I have a child with special needs, and I see this firsthand on a daily basis. We get help at the home daily, and over the course of a year, we have multiple providers that come through and handle our child. It's not only frustrating for him, but it's also frustrating for our family. So as we go further into the conversation, again, focus on the good. These are mission critical programs that government and public sector run, and we're here to help and support those as we go forward. And this is the why. So why is, the conversation we're bringing you today important? And again, facts. This is astonishing when you look at this, that if a child looking at adoption or reunification has the opportunity to work with one caseworker, they have a 70% chance of reunification and adoption. Whereas if they work for 2 caseworkers or more, it's a 17.5% chance. So do the math. Most of these people are leaving, turning over 90%. Our children and our families are disadvantaged to start. So through the use of emerging technologies, this is a story we want to bring to you today. So I'd like to invite my friend and colleague, Barry.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Okay. So thank you. My name is Barry Mitchell. As Mike said, I'm with IBM, part of our automation practice, and we're partnering with Blue Prism on this initiative. My role in IBM as part of automation practice is actually building and deploying digital workers for our clients across a whole broad range of different industries. And for us, digital workers have a very special place in what we call the future of work, right? And what we see is that the future of work is really driven by several different kind of forces or things that are going on in the industry right now that together are really creating an environment where we can actually just rethink how work gets done and who or what does that work. If you think about all of the emerging technologies, right, automation is one of them. There's AI, there's Internet of Things, there's blockchain, there's a whole variety of different technologies. And now that we're learning how to integrate all those technologies and use them together, it really opens up the aperture to the kinds of use cases that you can support using intelligent automation and other technologies. There's also a great deal of that technology that's focused on how humans and software robots, to use that term, really can interact, right? How humans and machines collaborate. One thing we're really keen to make clear, and we're pretty clear on ourselves, is it's not about the robots coming to take over your jobs. It's not about that at all. It's about how we can use automation, intelligent automation, to really augment what humans do and allow humans to really perform at a much higher level. And we'll talk about that when we go through the use case. And so this kind of human-machine collaboration is something that largely has been, attended automation, humans driving automation. We've had unattended automation in the back end, but really it's about how you bring both of those things to bear in a seamless workflow, right? So that a human and a digital worker can kind of coexist and work together. Data is really what fuels a lot of this, right? You've probably heard a lot of talk about, the large part of the world's, data in general is hidden behind firewalls. It's owned by enterprises, and as those enterprises start to uncover that data, analyze it, and generate insights about their business and the way that their work is being done, they can use that intelligence to really drive into these new workflows, again, changing the way that work's being done and really tailoring that to improve employee experience as well as customer experience, or in this case, citizen experience. And so from a process point of view, we start to think about moving from a traditional point of view where processes have always been run by people and supported by technology to having parts where it's the technology that's running the process, supported by the people, and have the people focus on the things that they're really good at, which is empathy, human interaction, and actually creating the outcomes and the customer experiences that we want. So just really quick, the anatomy of a digital worker, what does that mean to us? So a digital worker is more than I'll say, relatively simple task bot. It brings together a number of different capabilities. We think that there are going to be very many of these digital workers. They will have a job, they will have a function in the world. They will cover both business process as well as IT process. So if you think about the kinds of work that governments and agencies do around things like asset management or benefits administration, then there's a role within there for a digital worker to perform alongside their human co-workers. Certainly within IT, we've made some pretty big strides in how we, for example, administer enterprise applications and various associated tasks around things like help desk agent. You'll hear a bit more about that from my Blue Prism colleagues in a second. But again, if you think about benefits administration, there's things like doing eligibility verification, scheduling payments. There's dealing with master data around the customer or the citizen in this case. All of those things are pretty administrative, highly repetitive, large volume, and they can be done by the digital worker freeing up the humans that work in that space to actually try and, again, get better outcomes for the citizen. And then you've got to make those digital workers interact with humans. And so it's kind of a two-way street now. It used to be much more of a one-way street in that humans were driving attended automation or interacting with something like a chatbot, as an example. Now we've got some technologies that in this kind of human in the loop, right? And I think all the major RPA vendors have got this. We've been doing some great work with Blue Prism and their ecosystem of technology partners to create this kind of human in the loop, where a digital worker can be running a process, but you can configure it in a way that, given certain business rules, it will come and ask a human for help when it needs it, when there's maybe an exception in the process, when it needs approval to go and do something, which might be the next kind of best action. And so that kind of human in the loop creates this two-way street, which is this interaction between humans and digital workers. And again, large numbers of new use cases that can come about. So what we'd like to do here is we're going to play a video. It's just a few minutes. Before I play the video, I do want to introduce another IBM colleague who is not here today. She is Leah Dinger, who is part of our government industry unit. She's responsible globally for our social services programs within IBM Services. And she has a very vested interest in this particular use case. She was actually orphaned as a child. She was fostered as a youth and then adopted as a teenager. So she has direct experience of this kind of world of child welfare. And if she was here, she'd tell you at the age of 14, she suddenly thought, well, why can't somebody do anything about this? Why can't we make the outcomes much better? And so she decided that she would. So she's carried on through school. She actually graduated from Florida State with a master's in social work. And she spent 25 years delivering social services in both public and private sector. And we are lucky enough now to have her within IBM, helping a lot of different government and state agencies to use technology to, again, improve outcomes for citizens. So she sends her apologies. It would be great if she was here, but I'm going to play the video, hopefully, and then we'll kind of come back and talk about it. Or not. 1 second. Is it going to HDMI or separate?
So social services as an industry tends to attract people that are quite compassionate about serving other people. And as you can imagine, it is an emotional investment in the lives of people who have great needs. As a result, this can contribute to the high burnout rate and oftentimes not feeling supported themselves in their job roles. Up to 80% of child welfare workers are leaving the profession each year. And so the turnover is especially impactful when it comes to working with children and families. So let's take a look at Anna. Anna is in child welfare as a social worker. And so Anna has entered this profession because she wants to help children specifically in situations like that. And so the challenge Anna faces is that every day that she shows up to her job, she is burdened by the compliance tasks that overwhelm her. She is burdened by the administrative tasks that she must execute to remain in compliance, to keep her job, to hold that documentation at a level that can protect her in her job role. The problem is that she's finding she's spending so much time on these tasks that she does not have the time for that face-to-face interaction with those children.
Using these concepts of the future of work, we can really help Anna rethink how she does what she needs to do. Right? She has enormous passion for interacting with children and families and creating great outcomes to place them back with their family or place them into a foster home, for example. So allowing her to focus on those things that drive that outcome and having a digital worker alongside her, helping her do the paperwork, dealing with submitting requests for services, for example, filling out forms, is something that she no longer would have to do, and she gets to spend much more time with those children and those families to drive the outcomes. So really the future of work is about thinking of how to do work differently using a hybrid enterprise workforce, which is a combination of robots and humans working together. So in Anna's case, it's having a digital worker to help her get work done.
Anna currently spends about 80% of her day on administrative tasks. In the future of work, and with the support of Digital Worker, then Anna is actually relieved of some of those administrative duties. For example, when Anna's in the field working with a family and she receives information and she writes down that information on a form or in her handwritten case notes, she can take out her mobile device and take a picture of that form or of her case notes. That information can then be digitized and then used to preload or pre-fill the fields on each of those forms that she needs. In addition, that digital worker can be assigned to send those forms off to where they need to be sent and can follow up in the period of time that Anna suggests to make sure that that referral continues through execution until the family receives the services that they need.
So digital workers are entirely real. They're based on technology that exists today, and really it's about taking the approach that says I want the technology to operate the process, and in this case we want Anna to assist where needed. Right? So we can start by building the skills to do with filling in forms, moving data from handwritten notes into a back-end system, and actually build those skills over time in a way that we take the workload away from Anna gradually, if you like, and free her up to go work with the children. And the good news is that the way you build the skills for the digital worker to actually execute work and do the tasks is really just emulating what Anna would do. So you can actually bite off quite a little bit to start off with and grow that without it being disruptive to your existing systems or your existing processes, and then you can evolve into a re-engineered or more dynamic workflow in the future as the skills grow.
In this new future of work, Anna has that time to free up, to find more satisfaction in her job role, to be able to stay with it and to be committed in the longer term, and to be able to serve those children in the depth and manner in which she needs to serve them for successful outcomes. In the end, they all win. Anna is more satisfied with her job role, and the children in which she serves can actually find stability in their lives and have a better chance of being in a permanent home. So social service.
All right, so I apologize about the audio being out of sync. Not quite sure what happened with that. I need a robot to help me fix it. So hopefully then you kind of get the idea, right? Some of the challenges that Anna's facing. And so we've defined a digital worker that can perform various tasks to help Anna deal with some of these challenges. And as I said before, digital workers have various skills. So we've kind of broken it down into four main areas around case management, there's compliance, there's kind of administration of data, and then this whole idea of ecosystem kind of liaison. The number of people that a child welfare social worker has to interact with is huge. When you think about all the different services departments, the family themselves, relatives typically as well, there's a lot of people to interact with. So what I'd like to do is get into a bit more detail about some specific skills that we're building out. And I'll go through really quickly just three quick use cases. So use case number one is really around data capture. This is about, again, more efficient documentation and dealing with some of that administrative burden that Anna deals with. And so imagine, Anna is out at a home visit, right? She's visiting a teenager. We'll call him Tony. Tony is placed in a foster home, and this is a routine visit that Anna is making to go see Tony and go see the family. So while she's talking with Tony, she's kind of building some rapport with him, and he actually opens up quite a bit and shares with her some information that's a little bit concerning about he went to see his birth mother. Maybe she was high is what he was thinking, and that she needs to get clean, and he's a little bit depressed about this and kind of concerned, and he's been actually skipping some lessons at school. And so all this information is very pertinent. She needs to capture it. And there is some urgency there around putting that into the case notes and getting it recorded, but she knows that she's going to be on the road for the next 2 days and won't get back to the office. So here's where the digital worker steps in. She can actually just take a picture of her case notes as she's written them down, actually have the digital worker then transcribe them, play them back to her in real time on her mobile device. She can see the transcribed text, make some corrections, because as good as OCR is, it's not perfect, right? So she's making some corrections. And she can add extra thoughts in there as well, which means that she doesn't have to wait 2 days to make those additions to her notes, which really helps with really being in the moment and writing down exactly what's happening in case she forgets. So once she's done that, hit submit, and now that's uploaded by the digital worker into all the relevant systems of record that need to get updated. So it's what she's driving is much better compliance, much better speed of recording, and those case notes are much more accurate and up to date. Second one is kind of similar. It's around form submission. This one is an example where Anna is going to visit some children in a home. They're in their family home and they're receiving various services. And again, it's a routine visit. She finds out that, in this case, since her last visit, the father has actually lost his job. They're a bit tight for money. And in fact, they've been threatened by their utility company for discontinuation of service, right? If that happened, it would mean that those children would have to be removed from that home and probably placed into a foster home or into care. And so there's, again, some urgency around making sure that she can actually deal with that situation in the moment. So what she does is call up a digital worker on her mobile phone, ask it to go look for any kind of utility assistance that's available within the community where she is. And sure enough, the digital worker comes back with a suggestion. It actually checks the case notes and the files to actually fill out the form to request that service. Name, address, the names of the children, for example, and then actually reaches out to Anna in that kind of human-in-the-loop way to say, well, the service or the application for that service needs a copy of the last utility bill that the family has in the home. The family get that, she takes a picture of it, it's uploaded, and then immediately that service request is sent off for that service. So again, rather than her waiting 2 or 3 days to go back to the office and fill this form out, she's now got that done, and it really cuts down the time between recognition of an incident and when the services can be requested, and avoids, or at least reduces, the risk of those children being taken out of that home. And then the final one, slightly different one. This is, again, it's a child visit to a family. It's a single mother. It's a child that's been designated at risk, and so she's out paying a visit. Everything's going fairly normally, but then she notices that there's another adult living in the premises. Right? It turns out that it's the mother's new boyfriend who's moved in, right, since the last time that she was there. That happens. And so she's obliged to find out who this person is and do a risk assessment. So she talks to him, builds a little bit of trust, actually gets his ID, takes a copy of the ID, and again uploads that to the digital worker, who then goes off and can start checking against available criminal databases, sexual offender registries, and any other relevant databases that she needs to do a risk assessment. And while she's still in the home, she gets a reply back from the digital worker indicating that, yes, this is probably a high-risk situation and that she needs to take some action. Ordinarily, she'd have to go back to the office, right, and do all that stuff, and it really just leaves the child at risk. So again, this is around rapid response for the child and maintaining the safety of the child. So all of these are use cases where it changes the way that Anna works. She gets to focus on the child and the family and the situation that she finds herself in, and she has a helper helping her with all the paperwork. Just think of it that way, at least in this sense, okay? So with that, I hope that that's given you a sense of what we mean by what a digital worker really is, right? It's enabling Anna to be, honestly, a better Anna and a better social worker. And hopefully you can start thinking about that within your own departments and within your own agencies around similar use cases, because I'm convinced there's hundreds of these things that we could do, okay? I'm going to pass it over to Ron, who's now going to talk a little bit more about Blue Prism's technology and the roadmap they have that really supports this kind of approach. Ron.
Thanks, Barry. So to kind of talk, like Barry said, about what the digital worker consists of and how it interfaces with the things we just talked about, I want to first talk about a little bit, about our roadmap. Where we were, right? Digital workers that transact. They are business-led, there's enterprise scalability, there's scheduling, but we're talking about deterministic things using structured data, right? Where we are today, intelligent automation, like we just demonstrated, we have digital workers that adapt, that can ingest intelligent automation skills, such as IBM's data cap and the other technologies that we've just demonstrated for the use cases, right? But where we're going, right, non-deterministic workflow, unstructured data, digital workers who think. So we're talking machine learning, natural language processing, human in the loop, analytics and discovery built right into the platform. So an example of that human in the loop piece, kind of tying back to the ANA use case, right? So we have Blue Prism Service Assist. Now, attended automation is something that we've wrestled with as a company for some time because we like to do things with intentionality. And what we're getting at here is that, in this scenario, we have a human in the loop / attended situation, but we're still remaining the compliant and auditable, the basic tenets of the Blue Prism platform, born in regulated industries in the banking sector or financial sector, and keeping all of those compliance and auditability things at the forefront of the platform. So what this is essentially is a way for call centers and other customer service users and use cases to bring those kind of situations to life where you've got a large volume of customer-facing or constituent-facing agents that need to do some, things that only humans can do, right? But they still need RPA in the background to kind of operationalize that. So what you see here is, for example, this particular use case, you've got digital workers in the back end working through disparate systems that don't talk to one another, getting information when somebody calls into a call center while the person is on the phone talking to the end customer. The agent can then use one screen, which is that human in the loop feature, with a dynamic interface, and then using the attended automation, complete the call. And what we're doing with that is reducing, and there are a few use cases in the commercial space where this is actually being operationalized right now. I think one of them, we took the average call time from 18 minutes down to 2, right, using this. So this is just one of many things that we're coming out with from an attended perspective. So the cloud evolution, right? So right now, Blue Prism, as you know, can be deployed in your own data center. You can deploy in your own cloud. You have a free on-premises trial and a learning edition that can be deployed hybrid in the cloud. It can be deployed on desktops if you wanted to, right? But we're moving into the global cloud kind of vision where we've got reference architectures already done for IBM Cloud, Azure, where there's already a free trial out, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, right? And pretty soon we'll have free trials available on all of these platforms. And the final thing here is that Autonomy, which we just acquired in July, which is an intelligent cloud platform that utilizes Blue Prism technology, but their own proprietary AI-powered scheduling, sequencing, so on and so forth, technology to further kind of grease the skids on getting an RPA capability stood up. So one of the things about the Autonomy that's interesting is that with regards to getting automations built really, really quickly, they've developed a tool called the Wireframer, where you can actually have a business user that writes out, in our platform, a Visio-style diagram, and an automation is built from that. So it's a pretty simple drag and drop interface, allows the user that has the knowledge of their process to come in and basically draw that out on the canvas, and then a functional automation can be built from that. So moving on to this thing, this is probably the thing I'm most excited about today. So we've got a FedRAMP compliant solution. We think about the Cloud First initiative, now Cloud Smart under the current administration, but we spent a lot of time and spent a lot of hard work putting this together. FedRAMP compliant solution through our partner Project Host, it's on Azure. And one of the things I want to highlight here is that working with one of our DoD clients, the ISM there said it's the fastest stake he's ever seen get completed, right? So again, we've got the compliance, security, and auditability, mindset first. Again, with the origin of where we came from, the banking sector, regulated industries, so it's no different here, right? So this basically allows a plug-and-play kind of turnkey solution to kind of be on message and in compliance with the kind of Cloud Smart initiative. And then from there, we've already got the material and the playbook essentially with security, technical, implementation guides, from DISA, that kind of thing, already in place, in-house, ready to plug and play anywhere. So to get to an ATO, it's relatively quickly. And finally, I'll leave you with this, but we've just recently, as of September, announced free trials, which I hinted at a second ago, but a learning edition, which is basically a 90-day version of the software that allows anybody in the community to download and teach themselves Blue Prism. What isn't on here is Blue Prism University. This is an online interactive training. It's free, right? You go on, it's self-paced. There's non-technical tracks, there's technical tracks, but it teaches you the ins and outs of the platform, how to operationalize AI, for example, one of the things that you'll learn, how to do basic automations. Everything is there, so blueprism.com/university. It's free. And the final thing I'll say here is that with the advent of this learning edition, we've also announced Blue Prism Communities, which is an industry segmented online community that allows folks, based on where they're working, for example, if it's financial, if it's insurance, if it's healthcare, if it's government, to go and speak to other Blue Prism practitioners and have live support and feedback from Blue Prism staff to talk about issues that they're dealing with, or talk about things that they're interested in learning while out there on the community. So with that, I'll turn it over back to Mike.
Barry, so as we kind of wrap up here and close, as we showed you, our focus is on for the good, or Blue Prism for the good, and we enroll our partners in that same messaging, in some of the conversation we had today. But the use cases that we're building are around the mission, the value, the citizen, and the employees. And as we showed with Anna and the children involved there, it's a win-win-win. So this is kind of the art of the possible, if you will, and what we refer to as the triple win, right? And I think as we engage with our existing public sector clients, these are the things that we're talking about with them through our partners, and driving their initiatives and the success that they're having within their respective agencies. So again, we really appreciate the opportunity to be here, to speak, and if there's an opportunity after the session, the three of us are sticking around for a little bit, so happy to talk offline. And we have some information. Obviously, there's a lot of other videos and content, white papers, technical docs, blogs that are available for you for market research, for conversation, and we'd love to come out and talk as well, and see what's on your mind and see if Blue Prism can support you. So thanks again.